Hi, I'm Carl Davis, and this is my 25.3 assignment B. So this is my market research questionnaire and the answers. So the first one was, please tick the following or answer the following questions. So the first one was, are you female or male? And it was male. What age range do you fit into? And they said 11 to 20 years. What did you find? Would you find a blisterless sock useful? Yes. Do you often get blisters when performing in sport? Yes. What sort of price would you be willing to pay? £6 to £10. How much sport do you participate during the average week? 8+ hours. After using this product, is there anything you would change, i.e. how would you make the product better? They said, I found the product very useful and did not get any blisters when using them. I feel, however, that they may not perhaps last very long and will slowly deteriorate over time. Therefore, perhaps unsure if you're able to use them. The next one, they answered for the first question, male, age range 0 to 10 years. They found the blisterless sock useful. They said that they didn't get blisters when performing in sport, and they'd be willing to pay £16+ for this item. They also said that they participated in 8+ hours sport a week. After using the product, they said that what they would change, so they feel that they weren't very effective for that person personally due to them not getting many blisters anyway, and therefore do not necessarily need them. And then they said they would, however, unsure if they are thicker to ensure that there's more chance of not receiving a blister. The next one was a female client between the age of 11 to 20 years, and they said they didn't find a blisterless sock useful, but they also got blisters when performing in sport. And they said they wouldn't be willing to pay. They said they'd be willing to pay between £0 to £5 for this sock, and they participate in 4 to 7 hours on an average week of sport. They also said about the product after, about anything they would change, is that they would not necessarily know what to change or how to make the product better, as I do not need to participate in enough sport to comment or make a judgment. The next questionnaire was a male, the age range of 20+, and they found the blisterless sock useful, and they also said they would get blisters when performing in sport. The sort of price they said they were willing to pay was £6 to £10, and they also said they participated in 8+ hours sport a week. And they said after using the product, if there anything they would change, and they answered, having participated in lots of marathons and tried lots of similar products, they found the particular design far more beneficial than the others, and therefore would not change a thing, and believe in no improvements are needed to be made. The next one was a female of 20+ years old, and they said they would find the blisterless sock useful, and they also said they got blisters when performing in sport. They said they'd pay £11 to £15 for the product as well. And they also said they participate in 8+ hours sport a week, and they said after using the product, is there anything you would change? They said they would change the actual design and thickness of the sock, as they feel a long period of time the product may start to lose its quality. Next was a male, and they said they were 11 to 20 years old, and they would find the blisterless sock useful, and they also said they get blisters when performing in sport, and they also stated that they pay £11 to £15 for the product, and they participate in 8+ hours sport a week. And if they said they would change the traction on the bottom of the sock, as they don't feel that there's enough grip as such, and found themselves sliding when running about and on the move. The next one was a male between 11 to 20 years old, and they said they wouldn't find a blisterless sock useful because they don't get blisters performing in sport, and they also said they'd pay £0 to £5 for the product, and they participate in sport for 4 to 7 hours a week. They said about changing it, they said they would not necessarily know what to change about the product, as they choose to participate in as little sport as possible, and therefore would find the product a pointless purchase. The next person was a female, between the age range of 11 to 20 years, and they said they'd find the blisterless sock useful, and they also said they get blisters when performing in sport, and the sort of price they were willing to pay was £6 to £10, and they also participated in 8+ hours sport a week. And about changing the product, they said overall they found the product very good. However, they would like to change the traction on the sole and ensure that I'm less likely to slip or on my feet are less likely to move around the shoe when I'm running and moving. The next one was a male between the ages of 0 to 10. They said they didn't find the blisterless sock useful, and they also said they don't get blisters when performing in sport, and they were willing to pay £0 to £5. But they also said that they participated 8+ hours sport a week. And anything to change the product to make it better. They said, although I participate in a lot of sport, I do not necessarily find this product very useful, as I do not necessarily get blisters too often. Therefore, I cannot really comment on what I want to change. Next one was a male between the ages of 11 to 20, and they said they'd find the blisterless sock useful. They said they also got blisters when performing in sport, and they were willing to pay £11 to £15 for the product. They also stated that they were performing 8+ hours a week of sport. And the thing that they said they would change, they said they would make the socks thicker and ensure that the traction on the sole is better to ensure that their foot is not sliding around within the shoe. The market research questionnaire results. So there was 10 people who participated in total. 7 of those being male, 3 of those female, 2 between the age of 0 and 10, 6 between the ages of 11 and 20, and 2 between 20+ years. 7 said the product was useful, 3 said no. 3 also said 7 of them also said they got blisters when participating in sport. 3 said they didn't. The prices, 3 people said £0 to £5, 3 people said £6 to £10, 3 people said 11 to 15, and 1 said 16+. And the amount of sport, 2 people said 0 to 3 hours, 6 people said 4 to 7 hours, and 2 people said 8+ hours. The improvements we got out of it were to make it thicker, improve the traction on the sole, and make it longer lasting. And our market research questionnaire analysis, having looked over the questionnaires and results in which I got, I have been able to come up with and produce a detailed analysis describing all the positives and negatives to the market research questionnaire. The sample. The first point in which I'm going to look at in more detail the sample size in which I used. The total number of people which I asked to complete the questionnaire was very small, this being 10. This means although I was more likely to get all of them back, there was not necessarily enough responses to have made a full conclusion, as the product is likely to be different for certain people. Having a larger sample size, however, can be difficult to get a reply and response. For example, if I was to give the questionnaire to 100 people, I'd be less likely to get all 100 back, as opposed to handing it out and getting 10 and receiving 10 back. I assured I also gave the questionnaire to a variety of people. By this I mean I included people of different ages, genders and different backgrounds. This means the sample was mixed and I was more likely to get a response from different types of people. For example, asking people who participate in sport on a regular basis and then also questioning people who don't. It allowed me to compare the views and opinions of everyone and whether the people could actually use the product during regular everyday activities as well as just for sport and endurance exercises. The cost. Next you have the cost in which it is to make and carry out the questionnaire. This being that it was free, which means that it has a massive advantage over other methods. The way in which it was free is because it costs nothing to make a questionnaire up, and this is easy and free to email and send to people for completion. A negative, however, to questionnaires is the accuracy of the information. For example, due to the cost being free, it might not necessarily be completely true and useful. By this I mean not enough people will complete the questionnaire in order for you to gather enough information and results, whereas if you would perhaps spend more money on a survey and ask more people, the accuracy could well be improved. Design. Thirdly, the overall design of the questionnaire was perhaps not in the best. By this I mean I felt it did not ask necessarily enough questions. However, I decided to use more multiple choice questions as opposed to open-ended. And the reason for this being is that they were more easier to analyse and gather results for. They're also straight to the point questions and allowed me to understand what their views were easier in a short space of time. Bias. The questionnaire can perhaps be seen as being biased. By this I mean the types of people actually handed it out to. For example, I asked a few of my teammates on what their thoughts were on the product, meaning that they may lie and say the product is good purely for my benefits, when in fact there is certain improvements to be made. Another way in the questionnaire can be seen as being biased is that if I asked a couple of younger people within the range of 0 to 10 years who may not have a real understanding or knowledge within the products field, meaning that they are more likely to give false answers. For example, when asking the question about cost of product, they may choose the highest price purely because they have no value for money. Relevance. The questionnaire was particularly relevant as it allowed us to get the views of different people. For example, all the questions asked were related to the product, meaning answers given to us to gain a better understanding of where we are in terms of selling. It also allowed us to see what types of people were likely to buy the product and what the most popular aim traders were. The response. I feel due to asking 10 people to fill the questionnaire in, we were always likely going to receive 100% feedback. This was most certainly the case, and we saw every individual respond. However, I feel perhaps for a certain number of questions, people may have perhaps not been giving correct or helpful answers. By this I mean customers may have been responding in a way in which they thought would be beneficial to me, but personally, overall, not useful for our market research. Finally, recording data. When recording the results gathered, I decided to tally up the answers to see which were more popular. I found this way would be the most time efficient and easiest, meaning I was able to put more of my time into other things when it came to selling the product. This was perhaps the most important part of the whole questionnaire process. However, as it has allowed us to see people's opinions clearer and which answers were the most popular.